Hello and welcome to the Brothers Random Show. My name is Travis.
I'm Michael.
And we are two ordinary brothers discussing extraordinary ideas and some random shit. So the topics on this show range from theology, masculinity, stories, movies, philosophy, books, pop culture, and many other subjects. We often talk about the people we admire and the wisdom that they share. People such as Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, who we believe is the sage of our time. Come here for the polygamy, stay for the philosophy. Michael, why are we here?
Today, in honor of the Critical Drinker, we are wearing sunglasses because Critical Drinker does his shows with sunglasses. He's pushing on almost 2 million subscribers on YouTube, and he's on there and he's just commenting, reminiscing on movies. He runs the open bar where he gathers a lot of people in the space of movie critics, I would say, Nerdrotic being one of them. You could probably speak to more that are on there.
Yeah, there's Moeller. There's a lot of there's Hill versus Babyface.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of YouTubers.
And every once in a while he'll have Baggage Claim on there, and she's awesome. But he did, for the 20th anniversary of the Return of the King, Lord of the Rings, the Return of the King coming out, he did a honorary video of Lord of the Rings.
But that all began to change as the decade drew to a close, and we began to hear rumours of a new fantasy trilogy in the works, a big budget adaptation of Lord of the Rings, no less. Now, I can't begin to tell you how excited this made Teenage Drinker feel, because I'd been a fan of the books for years by that point and absolutely fallen in love with the world of Middle-earth. And keep in mind, this was a very different, less cynical time when movie adaptations of beloved properties weren't greeted by collective groans from the fanbase and questions of how badly they were going to screw it up to cater to modern audiences. There was a real feeling of collective optimism, of the time being right, of anything being possible.
And so today we wanted to talk about Lord of the Rings.
Yes, Lord of the Rings. So in December, which is a few weeks back, the 20th anniversary of the last Lord of the Rings film, The Return of the King, came out. It was directed by Peter Jackson. It starred a lot of people that are now famous, but maybe weren't as famous back then. Viggo Mortensen, Elijah Wood, Ian McKellen. But it was a cultural phenomenon that has, according to the Drinker, has not been matched. And that's really what we wanted to talk about, is like, especially nowadays Hollywood. So Viggo Mortensen's Aragorn from The Lord of the Rings is kind of the epitome of masculine virtue. Mm-hmm. There's been tons of videos done about you look up Aragorn from Lord of the Rings and virtue, and you'll find
masculinity,
or masculinity, and you'll find all these awesome videos about people talking about this character, which was created by Tolkien, damn near probably 100 years ago at this point. Tolkien, served in the First World War. So that would have been set in 1917. So I think, the First World War is over 100 years old at this point, and Tolkien kind of started creating Lord of the Rings in the trenches. He didn't publish it until many years later, but anyway, the point is that I don't think, according to the Drinker and this video that he made, this may have been the pinnacle of modern filmmaking.
He points out really well why he thinks that this is probably the best that we get, and this is the reason is because everybody that was involved in making that film, one of the things, and he has a little clip of Peter Jackson basically saying that we didn't want to make what our movie, we wanted to make a film how Tolkien would want it made, right?
Yeah.
We didn't want to put any of our own, certainly in terms of the thematic material, we didn't want to put any of our own baggage. I mean, we had no interest in putting our messages into this movie, but we thought that we should honor Tolkien by putting his messages into it.
This right here is why Lord of the Rings got it. This is why people still talk about these movies 2 decades later.
It's not about what we want to put into it. It's about what would he want this to look like? What would he want this the original, like keeping true to like the original source, right? Nowadays it's complete opposite. Nowadays everybody wants to take the story,
the original
and put in
source
their what they want
to
be put into it, right? So and this was across the board with, I mean, he talks about Viggo Mortensen like taking riding lessons and I mean, freaking buying his horse that he used because he just fell in love with the horse, like, and he just adopted this character in and wanted to really portray this character well. Ian McKellen literally on set in between takes reading the original Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Right. So these guys had this kind of they were
love and admiration for the source material.
Yeah, and a commitment to that.
And a commitment to that source material. So the what may be lost in modern filmmaking is that the source material is no longer valued.
Yeah. It's all about what it needs to mean for us now. It's not about what that creator, meant and was building and built. It's about tearing that all down and putting in what we want it to mean.
Well, the problem might be in not going back and looking at stuff that's happened from the past. So you and I grew up and we watched a bunch of black and white movies, right? Our parents grew up on black and white movies. So we watched a bunch of black and white movies. It's a Wonderful Life, Man Who Shot Liberty Valance,
To Kill a Mockingbird.
To Kill a Mockingbird. These are all black and white movies. They're old and they're good, right? So here's the thing. At some point, generations stopped looking back. And Netflix might be the problem with this or whatever, because there's always something new or YouTube might even be the problem with this. There's always
social
something
media.
new.
I mean, it could be a myriad of things. Yeah.
But there's always something new being created. So nobody looks backwards. Nobody looks back at the old, right? And I think the problem is that because of that, the people who are creators now they're a generation of people who don't value anything before them, don't value the source material, don't value the old ways of doing things. And just because everybody's got this like, oh, the new is the in, the new is the better.
Yeah.
And I would argue that in a lot of cases, the new is not the better. So I was having this discussion at my job with a friend, and he was talking about an old black and white movie, and I believe it was Arsenic and Old Lace.
Okay,
is what it was. We were talking about that. You remember
great
that
show?
Cary Grant's in that. It was a stage play. It was a big deal. And he's talking to a guy who's probably 10 years, 15 years or younger than both of us. He's still an adult, but he's way younger. And I said, oh, don't bother talking to him about that. His generation hasn't never seen a black and white movie. And he kind of like thought about it for a while. He's like, I've seen them, just couldn't tell you what they were. Like, it's like, I know of them kind of attitude. It's like, yeah, I'm right, because nobody of that generation looks backward into any of the entertainment, the older entertainment. There is some, the newer stuff that's coming out. I would argue that the majority of it is shit, and the older stuff, and maybe generations before us had always said this. Like, I don't think our dad liked any of the new stuff, but I can't say that truthfully because he also liked Band of Brothers, and Band of Brothers is only 15 years, maybe 10 or
Yeah.
15 years old at this point. So,
But he also loved anything World War II. So there's,
yeah,
I mean,
anything
there's
World
that.
War- yeah.
Yeah. But this critical drinkers kind of reminiscence of this time that we may have lost. Like and you mentioned that someday we may get this back. And you could be right. Maybe someday we do get this back. But right now it's looking glim.
Yeah,
it's not
it
looking
is.
great.
Yeah. It's not looking great, especially the
And
last year that we had. So we could get into this, but basically we had an Indiana Jones movie that I didn't bother seeing and flopped at the box office. We had a Marvels movie that I didn't bother seeing and flopped at the box office.
once
We
again,
had
looking at that, so like Indiana Jones, the makers, everything about it wasn't about keeping to a source material and to a
the truth of a character.
truth. Yeah, like what it was George Lucas really, or George Lucas
And
really,
Steven Spielberg. Yeah.
Steven Spielberg, what were they really doing here? What was it like? It wasn't about what would the source material want this to be, not what do I want to project onto this. No, it was about what do I want to project on this, and let's project that onto it.
Yeah,
and that's
Harrison Ford is old, Indiana Jones is old, let's bring in this new bubbly character that nobody likes but we all like because we're all after the new, that. And
I stole it from you. You stole it from me. It's called capitalism.
Yeah,
it's just like,
okay, bullshit. Okay,
Yeah.
this is shit. Nobody liked it and nobody saw it. Okay, a movie that probably could arguably be one of the most expensive movies ever made, and it did not recoup its money. Did not, and it's one of the reasons that Disney has lost $1 billion this past year. So I mean, rather than being two old guys who are sitting there going, "Oh, get off my lawn. I hate all new media." We're going to go back and we're going to think about the Lord of the Rings. So I was in high school when that movie came out, right? I was about to leave high school when the first one came out. And they shot these back to back so that they could release them 1 year apart for 3 years, which had never been done. The source material was at that time probably a 50-year-old book. It was a book that had been loved by generations. There was tons of pressure on this movie franchise, and the fact that they had a way to go and they didn't want to project all their stuff in it. They were trying to honor the source material. It was like the perfect blend of everything coming together and making basically a film franchise that will be remembered forever. Now, and the fact that they shot it all in New Zealand and used practical effects and practical locations, which is something that doesn't happen anymore, right? Everything that we see now is
green
so
screens galore.
Green screen,
yeah,
CG heavy, and they're worried. And this is one of the complaints that the drinker does is in his videos. He's like, so actors were injured on these movies, right? He talks about
the stakes were high.
The stakes were high.
Yeah.
He talks about Viggo Mortensen chipping his tooth and breaking his toe, and Orlando Bloom broke a rib by falling off a horse, and Sean Astin had glass go through like a glass shard go through his foot. And so there's all of these reasons, you don't hear about actors being injured very often because they probably don't like to talk about it. But nowadays, if you are in a air conditioned backlot green screen covered room, you are not risking your life. You're not
it's
doing
padded walls. It's
yeah.
padded everything.
Yeah.
There, you got you're strapped up the wazoo to all these cords and everything. I'm sure, there's it's uncomfortable and stuff a lot of the time.
But they've taken the pampered actor and really pampered the actor. It's like they're not risking anything. Now, there's also the like Keanu Reeves is in his pushing 60, and he just did John Wick 4, and he's doing most of the stunts in that movie. So there's that aspect to modern
or
film.
Tom Cruise doing all of his own stunts. And it's like I don't know, we crave seeing the stakes being high, right? So his whole with his motorcycle going off the cliff and having to do that like 7 times, 8 times, something like that.
In the most recent Mission Impossible,
to make sure that he gets it right, etc. That was high stakes, and I think people value. I think the audience
values when there's
values that,
when it feels like something's real, because you can CGI the crap out of everything, and you can feel that there's no real stakes involved. It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like anybody's really in danger of anything, really. So, I mean, and this is a bygone era. They weren't trying to interject their own political agendas. And it feels like almost everything that's produced nowadays has this desire to interject a political agenda of some kind. And it's, we've always had movies that did that, but the movies that last this over time most likely didn't have a political agenda. I mean, the only one I can think of that maybe is old is like the Manchurian Candidate. And I mean, it's like that was the whole thing was political, and that's, another older movie that nobody talks about anymore. Right. So I don't know. As far as like, I try to go back. I saw all 3 of those movies in the movie theater.
Yeah.
And I believe when Peter Jackson, about 10 years later, went back to Middle Earth and did the Hobbit films, I believe there was something lost. And it feels very much, it feels very much he didn't want to risk anything, so he did a lot of CGI. Now, the first Lord of the Rings trilogy had a lot of CGI, but they were using practical effects and CGI together, like intertwined together, and so it felt realer. It didn't feel like they were like puppets, with painted backgrounds, which is most of what The Hobbit feels like. It's a lesser film, or they're a series of films. I don't think they're well done. And maybe too much of his worst tendencies, which is long drawn out, I guess, battle sequences. The difference, I think, is that the characters are better in the Lord of the Rings than as opposed to the Hobbit. I don't know. Maybe that's one of the issues, but the source material is probably lesser too for the Hobbit, I would say.
Yeah, and I want to say that Tolkien wrote the Hobbit first. He probably just got better at writing. So
there's that. Yeah, that's probably true. He probably just got better at it. Yeah, but the Lord of the Rings definitely by far is much more beloved, I would say.
It's much better than the Hobbit films.
Yeah.
And it could just, just for the fact that there was one Hobbit book, and they made how many? 3? Did they make
Three out of it,
3
yeah.
Hobbit movies? And there was 3 Lord of the Rings books, and they made 3 movies. So right there, you can kind of see that it looks like, at face value, it kind of looks like a money grab.
Yeah.
Right. So there, it's kind of like, okay, it's about the money, blah, blah, blah. And I know that
rather than the love of actually making. So that might be the difference. So Lord of the Rings maybe had more love put to it, and people were just like, I love this.
Yeah.
I want to do the best I can with it. And everybody was kind of pushing for that. And whereas the Hobbit movies, maybe they were just a cash grab for the studio. And it feels, and that's what the Rings of Power, the Rings of Power definitely needs that. It's just a cash grab. It's not, I don't love this source material, I'm going to do better, do the source material justice. It's, I really want the money that may come from this source material.
Yeah.
And that may be what's wrong with all of Disney right now. Maybe the Lucasfilm, the Marvel brand, it's like, rather than making this because I love this, I'm going to make this because it is going to make a bunch
of money. Did you ever see the Mark Hamill where he's I can't remember, he's like at a university or something, he's like, remember, boys and girls, it's not about telling a good story, it's about making money. And he's like, oh wait, shoot, this is getting recorded, isn't it?
He's gonna
so
be
Mark
taken
Hamill
out
has
with
his own problems with some of the stuff that's gone on with
the Star Wars franchise.
But he's right.
I hope people are happy. It seems like, because in Hollywood, remember, kids, it's not important if it's of high quality, only if it makes money.
There comes a point where, and I think the Avengers was trying to entertain and tell a good story, and that was concisely kind of done with Endgame and everything leading up to Endgame.
The Endgame, yeah. And then basically everything after that was like, okay, we just
feeling
need,
like
we need to keep our jobs.
We gotta milk this for all the money that we possibly can.
Yeah.
Right. And so it just feels like and to Mark Hamill's point, it's not about telling a good story. It's about making money. Now, my view is, if you tell a good story,
you will make
money. Right. So but if you're going to take an IP that is known to make money and just cash grab it, eventually you burn out your audience. Eventually the
audience can see the cracks, right?
Yeah.
They can start seeing the cracks in the armor. You're looking at it going, oh, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't taste right. This is kind of gross. This kind of makes me not want to continue in this. That's why audiences basically turned away from most of the Marvel movies that came out this past year. And we're well into, the new year, but so there's hope, right? There's hope for new franchises. Dune, I'm looking forward to. The first Dune, I would argue, I felt the same way with the first Dune as I did when I went to the first Lord of the Rings. It's like, this is a visual, spectacular film. Now, can they stick the landing with a sequel or maybe another one? That's yet to be seen, but I kind of felt that way with it. I was kind of like, oh man, this is visually arresting. The characters are interesting. There's something here. So
it did feel like we were being preached to. It did. No, I didn't read the books, so I don't know for sure, but
yeah,
it on some level, it did kind of feel like we are making a story here and we're trying to stay real to what's been loved
what's come
in the
before.
past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, Dune, the first book is, I think, is an old book. So it's not like it's not like the source material is fairly new. So again, we have source material that they were true to, that the filmmakers were true to, and it did well, and most everyone liked it. So I think the lessons to be learned in the coming years is, like, if you have a source material, maybe the reason the source material is popular is because of a certain reason, and you need to find what that reason is and stick with it.
And hold true. Yeah, it's hold true to that.
Because I don't know about you, because I was excited for Lord of the Rings when it came out. Like, when the first trailer came out, it literally, like, my mind melted. I was like, oh my gosh, they're doing it. They're doing it. Do you remember the first trailer where it showed them walking over the mountain, and it just showed the different characters, and then it said in 2001 it'll be released this date, in 2002, and it was amazing. It was just the teaser for the entire series. Nowadays, when they announce that they're going to do something with a source material, I am not excited.
Yeah. It's like,
I go,
they're
oh,
probably gonna
how are they gonna screw this up?
How are they gonna screw this up?
That's my first thought is, oh, they're gonna screw this up. Netflix is going to be releasing very soon, is going to be releasing the Avatar live action series on Netflix.
Oh boy.
Avatar The Last Airbender. They've already screwed it up once with
they already did a movie, and it was horrible.
It was bad. It was really, really bad. So the source material is good. The Avatar The Last Airbender, if you haven't seen it, is a basically early 2000 anime show that is beloved by many, 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 many people, and including us. I absolutely love that show. And I'll go back to the source material. But anything that's been made new of that has been shit. Just shit. And I'm not looking forward to the series on Netflix of the Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now, their characters all look cool, and they look very close to the characters from the animated show, but I don't think they're going to do it justice. And I honestly, today, I don't trust that they won't interject some political agenda into it. I don't trust that they wouldn't. And there's a series of graphic novels called Bone, Bone, and they're basically like these adventures of these little creatures. And the graphic novels are great. They're really, really good and interesting. And I forget the writer. I think his name is Jeff Smith. And they did an announcement a few years ago that that Netflix was trying to make a series of that, and all I can think is, oh, they're going to screw that up too. It's like, anything that we do have that's good, I don't trust modern filmmakers to do justice to them.
Yeah, it's just, we've seen our hopes get squelched so many times that at this point we're almost getting used to it.
Yeah,
and we're just
start making something new. Stop finding old source material to use.
Which is why Critical Drinker and all of his buddies are all saying, like, they need to shelve Star Wars. Just shelve it. Just give it 10 years, right? Just shelve it, give it 10 years, come back, reassess
with new blood,
with new stuff, new blood, Yep. Yeah. Just shelve it and put it away. Because everything you're doing is just ruining it all.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I don't think we'll ever see another Indiana Jones.
Yeah. I think Indiana Jones is done.
I think it's done. So, I mean, and
well, and I don't know, didn't they say that they're canceling the Rings of Power
I don't know if they've
series?
actually announced that.
Or
And
if they're okay, so they may
Amazon
still keep going with it.
Amazon has enough money. Amazon has enough fuck you money that just based on sheer like tenacity, they may just keep going.
They may just keep going.
Yeah, it's the most expensive show of all time, and there's no way that they made money off of it. No way.
It's hard to say because
There's a
when it comes to
30%
streaming,
decline. It was a 30% decline from the people who started the show to the people who actually finished the show.
oh really?
It dropped by 30%, according
That's
to
not great.
what I read.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. It might have even been higher than that, but I thought it said 30%, but 30% is not bad. But
So
I mean,
they should probably shelve Lord of the Rings too.
they probably
Just
should
shelve it, guys.
Yeah, you guys have. It's like a kid who's playing with toys and being really too rambunctious with them. Take away the toys. Okay, it's time to you need to sit down. You need to calm down. You just broke the TV. This is what Hollywood is today. They've taken every single possible franchise and beat it into the ground, like to the point where nobody wants to see them anymore. When people say, "Hey, oh, did you hear about the new whatever?" I'm like, they're going to screw it up. They're going to find a way to make that worse than the source material.
I got my hopes for what we think is coming next, which is the video game adaptations. I'm hoping that they'll start getting this right, and they'll be true to the source material, and they'll want to really make something that speaks to the fans of the source material.
Mm-hmm.
And because I just heard you never knew Gears of War, but Gears of War is a video game that me and my buddies used to play all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently they're going to make a series of it,
Wow.
movie or series. And it was announced, and
well,
it was one of those things.
Fallout's
got my hopes up, but at the same time,
yeah,
I don't know, guys.
Fallout's already released a trailer.
That's right. I saw the trailer to that.
So,
yeah.
I
don't know.
Let's put some woke politics in it. Let's make it. That's what I'm thinking. I'm just thinking
probably.
Let's put a bland female lead that's not going to ever fail at anything. And most people don't like omnipotent characters. That's one of the problems that everybody has with Superman. If you cannot fail in anything, then what kind of, like, there's no stakes, right? So if the female lead of almost every franchise comes in and can't fail at anything, that's not interesting to people.
Yeah.
Make a female lead that does have foibles,
flaws,
that does fail and flaws.
Blue-eyed samurai, Archaean.
Those are the ones that got it right.
Yeah.
So
strong female lead that learns.
Yes. And isn't already a badass.
Perfect. Just the way she is. Anyway.
Yeah.
Final thoughts. Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings, 20 years, man. I wish I have the sword in the background. I wish I had bought a few of the posters when they were coming out, because I didn't realize, I didn't realize it while I was in the moment. I was like, this is amazing, but I didn't realize that it might be the last moment we got in that. I can't say that about everything because there's been movies that have come out that I've loved and franchises that I've loved. The Christopher Nolan Dark Knight series is one of the best series ever.
Yeah.
But the truth is that Lord of the Rings is, I think we're inclined to agree with the critical drinker when he says that it is the pinnacle. It was the pinnacle. We have not seen it matched, and almost nothing has come close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's kind of amazing that we did live in that era. Because that's when you were excited for the movies that are coming out. Not like, they're going to ruin that one.
Yep. It's
Any-
like
any-
every reaction. Oh, yep, they're making that.
Uh,
Yeah, they're probably gonna ruin it.
so
Probably not gonna be good.
they ruined Halo. That Halo series
Oh.
is shit.
Every time they touch Halo,
They
They
ruin
can't-
it.
they ruin it. Really, like every time they touch Halo, they ruin it. And like they did the Assassin's Creed. Geez,
Ugh.
like ruin that too. Like, I mean, there's a lot of video game. Now that's what I'm saying. We might be coming into a new age where video game adaptations, since Mario Brothers, Sonic have done well, right? We might come into an age where video game adaptations are the new thing. That being said,
They have
video
screwed
game
it up
adaptations have a very long history
of screw ups.
shit of some really bad stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, Street Fighter, like, I mean, just go down the list.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Hitman.
yeah.
So, any final thoughts for you on that?
I feel like one of the things that spoke to the Lord of the Rings is that they were tapping into a timeless kind of a Campbell's Hero of a Thousand Faces, like tapping into something that is ancient and deep within all of us. The heroism, the
hero's journey,
fight against evil, the hero's journey. Yep. Like the fight against evil, right? Standing up for the right thing, no matter the odds, right? Like just all of these things that kind of speak to us. And Tolkien knew this. Like Tolkien was a
scholar,
expert in a scholar,
like just old myths, and he was a linguist. He was interested in old languages.
He was tapping into something, and the films tapped into that something, right? They kept that something alive, and we're kind of losing that old timeless
We've lost
thing.
it. I think.
We've lost it. We've lost it.
Yeah.
Thanks, social media.
Thank you, social media.
I don't know. Yeah, whatever the case is, right? And
the drinker put it perfectly when he said in this video, he said it was the perfect marriage between artistic integrity and crowd pleasing spectacle.
Exactly.
And honestly, that's all we really want in movies. We want those two things to come together and create a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that about Gladiator. I would say that about the Christian Bale, Christopher Nolan Dark Knight. It's where crowd-pleasing spectacle meets artistic integrity.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
I think that's not my words. Those are the
critical drinkers. Yeah.
So I guess we should thank him. His real name is Will Jordan. He writes novels. He actually has an awesome YouTube channel. He's extremely un-PC. So if you're easily offended, keep away. And I would suggest to our audience to go check him out. His YouTube channel is called The Critical Drinker. He makes videos about movies and pop culture. Another good line that he said that I just like to point out is, we used to depict heroic actions, and all we can do now is depict heroic identities.
Interesting.
It's it right on the head right there.
Yep.
Please share, like, and subscribe to our
Tell
videos.
us what you think in the comments. Tell us what you think in the comments below.
Check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just look for The Sword in the Skull. Keep reading, keep listening, keep watching, learn more. We'll see you, brother.
See ya.
It's out there now. It belongs to all of us. And no matter how much modern writers might try to warp or twist or reshape it into their own vision of what we should want, it can never be taken away. Because some things really do stand the test of time. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.